Blue Dog Films presents Paid to Dream with Charles Dennis. Charles Dennis and Paid to Dream, and this is a wonderful book that this man wrote. His memoir, The Story of an Incredible Life. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Charles. Thank you for that. That means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a great read. What I want to get into right away, I'm so excited for you after all these years of trying to put your first movie together as a director. You did it, and it was the Toronto Film Festival last week. It's called Glen Rothen, and I'd like you to tell us about it.
Well, it's very interesting. You know, it's a film that came to me. It's written by a guy who I've worked with for 20 years. We did a radio thing together called McClevey, which is, you know, we still do radio drama in the UK, you know, which is unlike here. Canada still does radio drama, your country, which is good. And we've done this. I play this Edinburgh detective set in the 19th century, and he has this relationship with this madam of a whorehouse, and it's a really interesting thing. So there's a friend of ours called Neil Zyga, and he put this thing together, which was a story about a family distillery and about two brothers, and really the film is essentially about brotherly love. Now, you know, we've had some reviews, and they're usually kind of the usual nonsense. But the best review I had, we had 1,700 people at the Toronto at what's that big place? It's the journalist, the guy, Roy Thompson Hall. Is that the Roy Thompson Hall?
Thompson Hall, yes, yes.
Yeah. We filmed there, and we had 1,700 people. We got a standing ovation. But the best thing of all was the following day, one of the people who's one of our investors said, "Oh, you know, that was extraordinary night." He said, because it's about brotherly love, and it's about brothers who've been separated over time and haven't seen each other for 30 years. He said, a friend of mine, he was so taken by the movie that this morning he rang his brother, who he hasn't spoken to in 20 years. So I think if a movie does that, that's something. So I don't care about critics' reviews. If that happened to one guy, that validates the whole project for me.
Is there a distributor yet?
No, not yet. You know, it's a very small movie. It's a very intimate movie. You know, it's sentimental. You can't avoid it. And it is a kind of love letter to Scotland. I could see the good things and the bad, you know, and the questionable things, and the sentiment could be questionable. But I'm afraid we live in an age now where we need some sentiment because everything is so cynical and there's so many bad people around. We have a bad president. We have a bad man running Israel. We have a bad man running Russia. We have there's so many really, you know, I just wish the patriarchy was fucking over, quite frankly. I've had enough of it. And it just doesn't work anymore. And it's the old fashioned and it's so retrogressive, really. So I wanted to switch, and that's why I felt the film was important at this time, because it is a slightly sentiment, but it's about the heart. You know, we don't see enough movies about the heart, quite frankly. You know, it won't be to everybody's taste. I know that. That was I had that feeling when I started to work on it, but I just thought it's truthful. It's very truthful. And I went with it, and I got a great cast. My actors, Alan Cumming acts in a way that he hasn't acted for a long, long time, because Alan's always doing the.
I know I saw a review that said he butched up.
Pardon? He butched up, yeah.
The review I read said he butched up to play your brother.
Yeah, well, I had a sort of discussion with him, because I've known Alan since he started, and I first saw him doing Tartuffe, playing the young man in Tartuffe at the Lyceum in Edinburgh, and I thought, this is an extraordinary talent. Very serious young man, but very dynamic, you know, full of this kind of energy. And when we came to do it, I said, you know, Alan, you've got a choice. You could play it gay if you want, or you could play it bisexual, you know, if you want. And he said, no, I'll play it straight. I said, good. Okay, that's what I hope you were going to say, and that's great. And he does a fantastic job. And then we've got in it as well, to me, one of the truly underrated actresses that we have in the UK, and she's a wonderful Scots girl called Shirley Henderson, and she does a fantastic job.
Oh, I love Shirley Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, she is astonishingly good. And everybody is. It's a great cast. And the boys who do the younger me and the younger, I play the eldest brother in it. And my part is I'm the sort of plotter. I'm the one who wanted to leave, and I didn't leave. I had to stay and run the business. My brother wanted to stay, but he had to leave because his father was miserable to him. And our father is played by my son, Alan Cox, which is quite something.
Oh, Alan's, oh, how wonderful. Oh, isn't that great?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And Lady Cox is in it too.
She is indeed. Well, she's actually Lady Cox was not just in it. She did all the drone work. She took the drone pilot out and got some incredible stuff. So she's really gifted. I mean, she's got a tiny part in that, but she's great.
And I think it must be a record. I noticed on IMDb there are 32 producers listed.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. Yeah.
That's what it takes to get an independent film.
To get a movie made. It's funny enough. I've just been watching a very interesting program on Paddy Chayefsky, which I suggest you watch. It's really good. It's a documentary.
I did. I have it. I just love it.
You saw it, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, really fantastic. Talking about his work and what he did. In fact, I was so caught up that I forgot it was my time to get on the phone to you.
No, he was a visionary.
He truly was.
He just, that whole thing in Network is really terrifying that he saw, here's where it's going.
Yeah,
This is what's going to happen.
yeah, and he's so right. He's so. I mean, it's such an incredible prediction on his part. It really is.
So this show is called Paid to Dream, and some people have said to me, why is it called Paid to Dream? And it's because of something I got from Sir Ralph Richardson. And you're one of the few people I know who is a link to him. But he wrote, if you're a painter, a writer, you write or paint whenever you want to. But we actors have to do this task at a precise moment. At 3 minutes past 8, the curtain goes up and you've got to pretend to believe, because no one else will believe unless you believe it yourself. A great deal of our work is simply making ourselves dream. That is the task. At 3 minutes past 8, you must dream.
I know. Ralph, I was so lucky to work with Ralph. Tom Courtney and I did, what was it? Oh, God.
She stoops to conquer.
She Stoops to Conquer, yeah.
She stoops to conquer.
She Stoops to Conquer. And he was on it. And he always used to do magic tricks, Ralph. He loved doing magic tricks. And he would stand beside you when you were trying to order food, and you would go and you'd go, no. And he would say things like, have the veal and ham pie. It's the veal and ham pie for you, my boy. That kind of thing. But my funniest thing with him was we were sitting one day, and he was he was in the lunch break, and we were waiting to restart, and we both were sitting on sort of wing chairs, and I was facing him, and he said, I don't think I want to rehearse this afternoon. In fact, I'm going to hide. And I said, what? He said, oh, I'm going to hide. And he did this, like this. And he sat there for at least 10 minutes like this. And then Michael Elliott, who was directing, came in. And the floor manager the assistant floor manager was very nervous because she didn't know what to do because Ralph was sitting there like this. And Michael went and he said, Ralph, go away, I'm hiding. That's what he said.
What about the piggies?
What?
The piggies. He loved piggies, he told you.
Oh, he loved. Oh, that's right. He gave me a book on piggies. Yeah, that's right. He did. He gave. Oh, actually, it was for my then wife Caroline. She got the book on piggies. He was astonishing. They all were. I mean, that generation. I consider myself incredibly lucky because I worked with Olivier. I did the most extraordinary when he did Lear, and he was very old and very tired, and could only rehearse for half a day. and John Gielgud, who was just an absolute extraordinary delight of a man, and his memory was phenomenal. I mean, he could recall being with George Bernard Shaw. Um, oh, the other playwright, what's he called? Oh, it's gone for the moment. You know, the well-known English playwright who, God, names.
Frederick Lonsdale?
No, it's he did. I'm trying to think of his most famous. He did The Voice, Inheritance was his play, and that
Galsworthy?
no, gone. Sorry, Charles. Age. Who says age cannot wither? Only age only withers. That's all it does.
Just little chunks fall away. They come back later. You can call me later and say,
Yeah, 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 yeah. And he was. They were all there together uh, on New Year's Eve, and he remembers this vividly. He tells this story. But the also thing he told me is this playwright. He was married to an American woman who really made him give up writing plays, and he was staying at the Savoy Hotel, and uh, John was directing Hamlet himself in Hamlet. So he went. He would come in the back of the the theater and the Haymarket Theater, and he would come in. Well, actually, he would come in the front, and he would sit at the back, and and John would kind of direct, and then go back and say to him, "How's it going?" He said, "Do this, do that," and and then, but he couldn't tell his wife that he just pretended he was going for his morning walk. I wish I could remember his name.
um, Gielgud and Richardson came to Toronto in Home.
Home, yeah, David Story.
Right. And they, after the show, back in the hotel, they used to watch the Second City television series. And they loved it. And Rob said, Johnny, don't you think we could do that show? So the company manager phoned the producers, and they appeared on Second City together.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
But 2 years later, they came back in No Man's Land,
All right.
and Ralph said to Gilgan, Johnny, wouldn't it be nice to do that show again? So there was a new producer, right? Who, when he got the call, said, sorry, we don't have anything for them this year. Philistines.
Well, that's the problem. There's always a new generation of Philistines who arrive. I've spent I'm about to enter well, I've been in the business since I was 15, so I'm about to enter my 65th year in the business.
Well, you and I are the same age, and I made my debut on the radio when I was 8, so I'm a little bit ahead of you.
Oh, there you go. You're ahead of me.
um, but you and I, we
But I was a proper theatre man, Charles.
well, all right. I made my professional debut at 16.
All right. Well, then we're about the same. I was 15, so I beat you on that one.
At the Red Barn Theater. So there you go. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, yeah. And we've known each other now 51 years. I did math. Yeah, it's wild. 223 Sussex Gardens.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, that's right. You and Oliver Ford Davis.
Oliver Ford Davis and the people who would come up 5 flights of stairs. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. My God, I'll never forget it. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
you better like the person at the top because if you've got the wrong address, forget it.
And it's a long way down.
It is. It is. But you and I both shared a love of the cinema since we were little and hanging out in the cinema. Mine was the Nortown Theater, which no longer exists. And what was the name of the one in Dundee that you used to go to?
Well, there was the Broadway and the Royal, but there were actually 21 cinemas in Dundee when I was a kid, and I managed to visit them all. I mean, that was my life. Because I was the late child. I mean, my sisters were all 16, 17 years older than me, and the youngest sister was 12 years older than me, So and they were when my dad died and my mom got really crazy ill. They were they looked after they didn't look after me, they looked out for me, which was even better.
Yeah. and I got to meet them
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
both here in LA and in Edinburgh when you did Varric.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah.
That was great fun, great fun. Um, you were the original Hannibal Lecter, which a lot of people don't know before Mr. Hopkins came along.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's always been a the only thing I envied, the only thing I got annoyed about was the money that he got for because he won the Academy Award, and I kept thinking that's a lot of money that he got. He got well, he started to get $1 million a picture because of that. No, and also I naturally think our film is better, but there you go. I'm biased.
I just read something funny about actors and money. When Omar Sharif and Peter O'Toole did Lawrence of Arabia, they apparently signed something in their contract owing a film to Sam Spiegel
Oh yeah,
at the rate that they were hired.
yeah,
So several years later, they appeared in a movie called The Night of the Generals. Do you remember that film?
yes, indeed.
Donald Pleasance got more money than O'Toole and Sharif combined. They were stuck with that contract.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he jumped ship because when we did my first movie, which was Nicholas and Alexandra, O'Toole was supposed to play Rasputin, but he didn't turn up,
Because of Sam Spiegel.
and that was because he owed Sam a movie, and he just didn't turn up. He didn't, and so Tom Baker took over. He did it.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I made my first movie for Franklin Schaffner in Madrid, same as you.
All right.
It was God, I loved shooting in Madrid. It was so wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the time of Franco as well. It was.
And yes, he was still around. I never got used to those soldiers walking around the streets with machine guns. I just thought, okay,
No. Oh well. You live in L.A. Haven't you been getting a lot of soldiers walking around with in L.A.?
I live on my ranch and I don't go far. And thank God, I these ice people and everything. I was going to post something the other day about how the United States rescued England and France in World War II. Who is going to rescue us?
That is the $60 million question. Who is going to rescue it? No, it's we could spend the whole conversation talking about that, but the less said, soon as mended. I'm afraid.
Yes, absolutely. So, Succession has made you, at long last, a household name in America. Has it changed your life?
It has a lot. I mourn my anonymity, Charles. I absolutely mourn my anonymity. It's fun enough. I think it was Redford that I watched the other day, who sadly left us last week, uh, and he was talking about how how success isn't always helpful. And I was the guy that said you were in. Oh no, but didn't you do? Oh no, no, no. But I think there's a couple of things. I was that guy, and then now everybody knows who I am, and it's difficult because I love the fact that I could bob and weave when I was not so well known. I enjoyed that, but I didn't have that responsibility of expectation and a burden really. I find the fact that everybody knows and wants to know, and I just think I just want my anonymity back. I was like it when I was just Brian Cox, the jobbing actor. I loved that. But that's gone. It's just gone.
I remember I interviewed Eli Wallach years ago, and he told me that this one woman came up to him on the street and said, I know you. I know you. Who are you? And he said, Eli Wallach. She goes, no, that's not the right name.
Yeah, no, I haven't quite had that one, but I believe a few people have had that one.
And also that they want you to say fuck off.
Oh yeah, everybody wants me to tell them to fuck off. The most horrendous element of that was being at the time of the Golden Globes when I won it, and Rosanna Arquette was then married to this very rich guy. She isn't any longer, and they lived in Pacific Palisades. And I often think, did his house get burnt down? You know, especially where so many people got burnt down in Pacific Palisades. Anyway, we went to this thing, and she said, "Will you come along? We've got Ronan Farrow coming in today, and he's doing a talk on the Me Too movement." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I arrived late, and I was standing at the back, and listening to him, and it was very intense. And there were all these Hollywood women, you know, listening intently to what Farah was saying and getting all off on and going, "Oh yes," and "No, that's terrible." It was quite a serious evening. And he finished, and he got a huge round of applause, and it was good. He did a great job. But they all turned around. And I was at the back, and they saw me, and they immediately took out their cameras, and they went, "Can you tell us to fuck off?" And I thought, You've just heard this thing about the Me Too, and you turn to me, a white dinosaur, and you tell me to fuck off. Have you women not learned anything from this afternoon? Anything at all? And they went, "Oh, oh no, we didn't realize." I said, "No, well, that's the problem. You don't realize."
The white dinosaur. Two things that I think they're just wonderful in the history of you. One is playing the Music Man.
Oh yeah. Well,
How did that come about?
Well, what happened was I was invited to go to direct at the Regent's Park Theatre, which I think is wonderful. I prefer the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre to the Globe any day of the week, because the Globe has got so much pretension around it, you know, and even Shakespeare wasn't mad about the Globe at the end of the day. He preferred his plays indoors. They've done that now. They've created an indoor space, which is good. So I was doing Richard III, and I heard they were doing The Music Man. Now, my kids, Margaret and Alan, as little kids, I always, because Robert Preston is just, to me, incredible in The Music Man. And so I thought, well, they said, "Dad, you know, they're doing The Music Man." And he said, "You know," so I said, "Okay, I'll audition." So I went up and I actually auditioned for it, and I got the job. I was surprised. And I thought my singing was rather good, you know, but I got reviews for my dancing, which I was completely shocked by. And then, of course,
And
fun.
that's your one and only musical to date?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I did a music. No, that's not true, actually, Charles. I did a musical about Pilgrim's Progress. I did a musical of that many, many years ago, in which I played Christian in Pilgrim's Progress, where I started and I hadn't, well, I had forgot to unzip, my flies were unzipped, so my white underpants were sticking out during my first rather sad number, and it was some theatre down south. I think it was the Yvonne Arno, you know, and in Guildford, and just the audience were laughing, and I thought, "What's going on?" Because of my underpants sticking out. No, The Music Man was great to do, and of course I worked with the wonderful Liz Robertson, who is Alan J. Lerner's 15th wife or something, you know, and she and she's a delight, absolute delight, Liz, and we had a great time together. Marion the Librarian.
Yeah. I've thought, why doesn't he do Fiddler? You'd be wonderful. Why don't you do Man of La Mancha? Although that really requires big pipes. But, you know, I'm just thrilled that you're back on stage.
Well, yeah. Well, this year I'm going to be doing. In the last. I mean, I'm actually exhausted. I've just been turning down work because I've done so much. I did Long Day's Journey into Night, which is a exhausting play. I did it with the wonderful Patricia Clarkson. She was fantastic in it. I did that last year, and then I followed it up by going to Bath to do this play by my friend Oliver Cotton called The Score, where I was playing Bach in Bath. And then we transferred that, directed by Trevor Nunn, we transferred that, and I just finished that at the beginning of the summer. And then I was also, oh, I know, and also before that, I directed this movie. You know, I knew I did something else, so it was quite a thing, really. Yeah, it was really bizarre, but so I'm just turning this off. Sorry about this. Uh, okay, no, come on. Okay, all right, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, that was. So I've had a busy year. I've been crazy busy, and I just did these 3 days on this film about the Super Troopers people that I've done films for over. We started, I think, nearly 30 years ago, and they were all young men, and they're now sort of middle-aged men, and they wanted me to do it, and I said, and I was really tired. I said, well, I don't think I can do it, guys. I said, I'm really exhausted. And they said, well, Brian, if you don't do it, they won't make the movie. And that's the problem with success when you know that you're now a sort of, I don't really think of myself in that way, but you're apparent that you can get a movie greenlit. And I'm going, that's too much of a burden, quite honestly. But anyway, I did it. I did my 3 days. I just finished it. Quite exhausting.
Your two sons, no, your three sons have now followed you into the theater.
Yeah, three of them. And they're all good. You know, my youngest is at Emerson studying, which is a great school. And I was really bucked by it because I was reading a biography of, TCM do these great biographies. Some of them are good and some of them I think they need to redo them because some of them are really interesting. And it was a biography of Carl Malden, and he studied at Emerson, which I didn't realize. He was an Emerson student. Yeah, my boy is having a great time. My youngest son, Torin. My eldest son is sort of just, he's plowing his furrow, doing bits and pieces here and there, and eventually, and he's the good-looking one of the family. He's the really, handsome guy. So we're trying to get him to go into modeling so that he might segue from modeling to acting. And my eldest son, who played my father, Alan, he's really doing well. He's suddenly, in the last few years, come into his own as much because he's now 55. God, I can't believe I've got a 55-year-old son, but I do.
It's amazing. I remember just before Orson was born, you guys were at my house, and I thought, they're going to have the baby in my house. This is not right. They've got to go to, yeah. It's how wonderful for you. And obviously they weren't scared off. Well, their dad was always employed. Yeah.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. They're very sensible. What I'm particularly proud of my boys for, both Orson and Torrin, was because of what's going on in the country. And I said to them, because they're dual citizens, I said, you can come to England anytime, Britain anytime you can. You could do that. And they said, both of them separately said, no, Dad, we're going to stick it out. We want to stick it out. And I have to applaud that.
I think I've mentioned this to you before, but you share a birthday with two of my favorite actors ever, Robert Newton and Frank Morgan. How do you feel about that? Because they, like you, they could amazingly go between comedy and drama.
Wow. Well, of course, I also share a birthday with Marlon Monroe and Morgan Freeman, who I know. So yeah.
Yes, I just saw you in Along Came a Spider,
Oh, right, right, right.
or was it Kiss the Girl? Which one? It's one of those
Kiss the Girls, I think it might have been. Yeah.
Alex Cross. Kiss the Girl. Yeah, yeah. No, he's wow. I saw him at a tribute to Gregory Peck, and he was so funny.
Oh, he's very funny. I once once said, Morgan, I said, being my stupid, serious self, I was younger then. I said, Morgan, you'd be great Othello. And he went, never. I wouldn't play Othello for all the tea in China. It's too much like hard work.
And he still basically lives in Mississippi. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, he does. He does. He has a boat. He lives there. Yeah, he does. Yeah, Robert Newton. Actually, Robert Newton's son, Nick Newton, used to live above me when I lived in London in Vincent Square, and he's a producer now. And he was very, very young. He was about 4 when Bob died, when Robert Newton died. But Newton was an extraordinary actor. There's a very good film. I can't remember the title of it, where he plays this. I think he's a doctor, and there's a sort of death that's happened, and he goes to he hides in when he's got this secret place that he goes to, and very good. And then Frank Morgan, sorry about that noise. Frank Morgan, I still think the shop on the corner. He is fantastic in that. I mean, did he ever get an award for that?
No, he was nominated in Tortilla Flat, where he plays the old birdman who lives in the woods. he was amazing, and he had that incredible thing of stopping in mid sentence to begin another sentence,
Yeah.
and then somehow stitching it all together.
No, he was a fantastic actor.
Yeah. What's interesting about them, as opposed to you, is they both came from very, very well established business families. Newton's grandfather started this art supply business, something in Newton in England.
That's right. Newton's Art Supplies. Yeah.
Right, right. And Frank Morgan, his family was Langostura Bitters.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, both he and his brother Ralph, they took the name Morgan Estate because their real name was something like Whippersnap, something like that.
Yeah, those were the days when you had to deal with names like that and call yourself Brown or Smith or Morgan.
So what's next?
Well, I'm taking it easy. I'm going to be doing the score in Washington in September, October. We've had a flirtation with Broadway, but that was not successful, and they were a bit, quite frankly, rude about that. I mean, they were very excited, but then no follow up. Usual. Americans have this habit of blowing hard and delivering nothing. you know, it's a kind of American disease, and so that didn't happen. So we've got Simon Godwin, who runs the Shakespeare Theatre and is a fantastic director in his own right. He's invited us to do the score, so we're going to do the score in September, October in Washington, which will be quite interesting. Uh, my wife's a bit worried about it because she said, "I will if he comes, I will not shake his hand," and you can imagine who he is. But I don't. I thought, no, it's too deep for him. He wouldn't come. Yeah.
Well, I'm finishing up. I'm almost done with my memoir, for want of a better word, called "Who the Hell is Charles Dennis?" And it's about all the people over the last 60 some odd years, because I really got into this thing when I was 15 with interviewing people. And
I know. Well, you were. Yeah, You were always kind of. You were always front and center. That's what I always liked about you, Charles. You were always front and center in what you were doing, and you were completely in there. You were in the venue. You were always in the venue.
that's great. Thank you. Well, our time is up, as I promised you, 30 minutes.
Well, thank you, Charles. This has been nice.
We'll come back another time, maybe with Nicole, whatever.
We could have gone on for a good hour and a half.
Oh, I know, I know. And don't forget, keep that thing running after we stop, okay?
I will do. I promise. I won't do anything.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Take care, Charles. All the best. Bye.
Bye bye.